Hey, what's up, guys? Just chilling. It's my birthday today. I was gonna show you guys the bud I picked up today. So I got some. Well, this I already had was some Tropicali. Really good. It's sativa. Uh, really good though. Usually I like to smoke an indica before I go to bed, but that one does the job just fine. Then I got some Sunset Gelato right here. This stuff's really good. Haven't smoked it yet, but it smells really. And this is the white gummies. You can't see through the bag on this one, so let me take out a nug. Yeah, you got. Yeah, that's really good. And then I was originally gonna pick up two pre-rolls, but since it's my birthday, they gave me a discount, 10% on the entire sale, and then I got an extra pre-roll for 1 penny, so pretty much free. But yeah, we got one of this is the Blueberry Kush. This one's the Gelato, and then we got some White Runts right here. This one's a hybrid. These two are the Indicas. So I'll probably be saving those for tonight. This one we'll probably get started on here in a little bit. But yeah, so pretty good deal. Got uh, 2 8. Yeah. Not sure what I'm gonna dive into today. I was thinking maybe I might do some diving into MK Ultra possibly. Um MK Ultra is really interesting because most people tend to think it's a conspiracy theory until I tell them go Google the court case. They Google the court case and see that actually the victims had sued the CIA, um, and I believe they settled it out of court. But in court, the CIA actually admitted to running these experiments on the American public. Um, and so it's a very interesting case. So I think we'll go ahead and hop into that. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, I can't. Okay. Let's see here. Well, I'll reply to that later, I guess. I can go right here. Let's see. I don't know if this is gonna. I don't want to throw anything off here. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into MK Ultra. So, uh, guess we'll start with reading what MK Ultra was. I'm gonna go ahead and read it because it's a lot, and I don't want to miss any details on this. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you guys, so you guys can see exactly what all the information is. Let's go ahead and go to that one there, and then let me pull up a dual screen here, split screen. And that way I can still see what's going on here. Add to stage. There we go. Give it a second. Let's see. I don't know. Am I showing up here, guys? Let me give that a second to adjust itself. What the heck is going on here? Oh, that would help. Set my microphone correct. Here, camera. Okay, that's good to go. All right. Hold on. What the hell's going on here? Anyone is watching right now, which I don't expect. I tend to get most of my viewers after I go live. Everyone's at work right now. But if you are having trouble seeing me, please let me know. It doesn't look like I'm appearing on the screen here, at least on my end. What the hell's going on? See if I go like that for a second. Let's see. Okay, so like you guys can see me. Okay, okay, cool. So sorry, guys. All right, on my end, it for some reason looks like you can't see me, but apparently you can. So that's all that matters. So okay, so let's just go ahead and click here on the MK Ultra Wikipedia page, and I'll go ahead and do a quick read through to kind of sum up what MK Ultra is. So right here. Project MK Ultra was a human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken individuals, force concessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. The term MK Ultra is a CIA acronym. MK is arbitrary prefix standing for the Office of Technical Service, and Ultra is an arbitrary word out of a dictionary used to name this project. The program has been widely condemned as a violation of individual rights and an example of the CIA's abuse of power, with critics highlighting its disregard for consent and its corrosive impact on democratic principles. Project MK Ultra began in 1953 and was halted in 1973. MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as the covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drug, especially LSD, and other chemicals without the subject's consent. Additionally, other methods beyond chemical compounds were used, including electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and other forms of torture. Project MK Ultra was preceded by Project Artichoke. It was organized through the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence and coordinated with the United States Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. The program engaged in illegal activities, including the use of U.S. and Canadian citizens as unwitting test subjects. MK Ultra's scope was broad, with activities carried out under the guise of research at more than 80 institutions aside from the military, including colleges and universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. The CIA operated using front organizations, although some top officials at these institutions were aware of the CIA's involvement. So, yeah, this was a mass brainwashing experiment used on the American and the Canadian public. There's actually documentaries that you guys can look up on this with testimony from victims, and both in the United States and as well as Canada, and I believe I saw one that took place in France as well, but don't quote me on that. Um, but yeah, very dark stuff, honestly. But we are going to dive into as much as possible today. Uh, so, Project MK Ultra was revealed to the public in 1975 by the Church Committee, named after uh, Senator Frank Church of the United States Congress and Gerald Ford's United States President's Commission on CIA Activities within the United States. In parentheses, it says the Rockefeller Commission. Investigative efforts were hampered by the CIA's director, Richard Helms' order that all MK, uh, uh, I'm sorry, Richard Helms's order that all MK Ultra files be destroyed in 1973. The Church Committee and Rockefeller Commission investigations relied on the sworn testimony of direct participants and on the small number of documents that survived Helms's order. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered a cache of 20,000 documents relating to MK Ultra, which led to the Senate hearings. Some surviving information about MK Ultra was declassified in 2001. I believe that is when the victims sued the CIA. Um, it was around the early 2000s, late 90s. Um, and that's the thing. See, it says here, not a lot of people understand this. Uh, it was uncovered in a Freedom of Information Act. So this information is actually available to anybody who wants to go look it up. You guys can see this is not a conspiracy theory. This actually happened here in America and in Canada. Uh, and a lot of this, I believe this is even, yeah, that's the next part right here. A lot of this was born out of the Nazi experiments that were performed in the concentration camps um, during World War II. Um, so it's very concerning that more people are not aware of this, especially with uh, all the fear about Nazis taking over and stuff with Donald Trump, because the threat is not Donald Trump. The real threat here is essentially uh, bureaus like the CIA. Um, because this is another project that a lot of people aren't aware about is Project Paperclip. See, at the end of World War II, um, we actually, us and Russia, because Russia helped us beat the Nazis. A lot of people forget about that as well. Um, but we split the Nazi scientists that were hired by Hitler. We split them between us and Russia. So people like Werner von Braun, who helped us essentially get to the moon, um, he was a Nazi scientist. A lot of people are not aware of this. Um, you know, he also committed a lot of war crimes as well. Um, this just goes to show that while someone can be very evil, they can also be used for a good purpose. Um, so evil people are capable of doing good things just as much as a good person is capable of doing evil things. That um, that does not change. Um, but you guys give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry about that. I'm back. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into the origin of the project, although I kind of said a little bit, but this is going to go into more detail, things that I'm not super fresh on. Because all this stuff, I've been well aware of it for many years now. It's been a while since I've dived into all this, and so my research is a little foggy. But this so far is summing it up pretty well. Um, I don't 100% trust Wikipedia, but this so far is decent, decent. Um, so during the early 1940s, Nazi scientists working in the concentration camps of Auschwitz and uh, forgive me, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce this, but I'm going to say Dachau, I'm going to say. During World War II conducted interrogation experiments on human subjects. Substances such as barbiturates, morphine derivatives, and hallucinogens such as mescaline were employed in experiments conducted on Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, Jewish, and other nationalities prisoners of war. Uh, the aim of these experiments was to develop a truth serum, which would, in the words of one laboratory assistant to Dachau scientist Kurt Plutner, eliminate the will of the person examined. American history Stephen Kinzer said that the CIA project was a continuation of these earlier Nazi experiments, as evidenced by MK Ultra's use of mescaline and unwitting subjects, which had previously been done by Nazi scientists in Dachau. American interest in drug-related interrogation experiments began in 1943 when the Office of Strategic Services began developing a truth drug that would produce uninhibited truthfulness in an interrogated person. In 1947, the United States Navy initiated Project Chatter, an interrogation program which saw the first testing of LSD on human subjects. In 1950, the, the Central Intelligence Agency, under the direction of General Walter Bedell Smith, initiated a series of interrogation projects involving human subjects, beginning with the launch of Project Bluebird, officially renamed Project Artichoke on August 20th, 1951. Directed and overseen by Brigadier General Paul F. Gaynor. The objective of Artichoke was to determine whether an individual could be made to involuntarily perform an act of attempted assassination. Morphine, mescaline, and LSD were all administered on unknowing CIA agents in an attempt to produce amnesia in the subjects. In addition, Project Artichoke aimed to employ certain viruses such as dengue fever as potential uh, incapacitating agents. So yeah, so this was all in the hopes of producing a truth serum. Um, they could ask you anything, you would tell the truth. Um, and essentially brainwashing you. Um, in Artichoke, they wanted to be able to brainwash you to perform an assassination. So, this is obviously very concerning that our government would do this. Um, but there it is. Um, so this all goes into aims and leadership. Took place. A majority of this took place during the Cold War. Um, in 1976, Church Committee report found that MK Delta program drugs were used primarily as an aid to interrogations, but MK Ultra slash MK Delta materials were also used for harassment, discrediting, and or disabling purposes. So basically, if you were a say whistleblower, they would use these drugs to help shut you up. Because anyone who's taken LSD knows that if you go into a bad trip, it can be very scary and have a long-term effect on an individual, especially if they're being told to shut up or you die or something like that. Even with use of supernatural entities that you might be more convinced of while you're under the influence of LSD. Uh, so, and the thing that we need to remember is, at least as far as we know, they were unsuccessful in actually brainwashing anybody. Although, did they come out of the experiment mentally fucked? 100%, 100%. Um, were they maybe even made to do things unwilling? Yes, 100%. That does not necessarily mean that they were properly able to brainwash them the way they intended, but yeah, 100%. Uh, and they used sexual torture. Um, it was basically trauma based brainwashing, essentially. Um, So that's where you get a lot of the, we'll say, conspiracy theories about like the 27 Club, um, Manchurian Candidates, etc. There's a really good documentary on Netflix I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix or not, but it was called Wormwood, or Project Wormwood. I can't remember the name exactly, but Wormwood essentially. Uh, and that is actually about a man trying to uncover the true cause of death of his father, who was a scientist for the CIA. He was being drugged with LSD and supposedly jumped out of a window. Um, Although the evidence more shows that he was probably thrown out the window. Uh, so let's see if we can get. Okay, experiments on Americans. CIA documents suggest that they investigated chemical, biological, and radiological methods of mind control as part of MK Ultra. They spent an estimated 10 million or more, roughly 87.5 million adjusted for inflation. So today's money, $87.5 million went to this. During a hearing by the Senate Health Subcommittee, a testimony by the deputy director of the CIA stated that over 30 institutions and universities were involved in the experimentation program of testing drugs or on unknown citizens at all social levels, high and low, Native Americans and foreign. Several of these tests involved the issuing of LSD to unaware subjects in social situations. So you could see how that would affect somebody. I mean, you get LSD put in your system and you don't know about it, man. That's gonna freak somebody out. That's asking for a bad trip. Uh, the Army was subject to the testing of LSD, which occurred in three phases. The first phase included over 1,000 American soldiers who willingly volunteered for the testing of chemical warfare experiments. Phase two had 96 volunteers who were dosed with LSD yeah, in evaluation of the possibility of intelligence uses of the drug. Third phase included projects Third Chance and Derby Hat, which conducted experiments on 16 unwitting non-volunteer subjects that, after receiving LSD, were interrogated as part of Operation Field Tests. After retiring in 1972, uh, Gottlieb dismissed his entire effort for the CIA's MK Ultra program as useless. Files discovered in 1977 containing 700 pages of new information showed that experiments had continued until Gottlieb ordered the program halted on July 10th, 1972. So this went on for, about what, about 30 years this went on. Uh, and, they say they stopped. That's debatable. but, but this right here, it directly correlates with the Charles Manson case because they say that he used LSD to brainwash um, his cult members, right? Well, the CIA couldn't figure out how to do that. They deemed the whole thing as completely useless, in their words. So, if we're going off of that, then the argument that he used LSD to brainwash his quote unquote cult members, it makes no sense. Because you see, you're going to tell me that a man who was raised in jail his whole life, uh, he figured out how to do what the US government couldn't do? I believe what you want, but that doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't think it would make any sense or be believable to any reasonable human being. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the top of the top scientists working, you know, for our US government. You even have ex-Nazi scientists who were doing this prior to doing it for the U.S. government. Well, they couldn't figure it out, but this guy was able to figure it. I don't believe that, not for 1 second, not for 1 second. But unfortunately, we weren't made aware of this till after the uh, after the trial was well over with. Uh, so uh, again, believe what you want, but I will never be able to believe that. That just makes zero sense to me. So this goes into the history of LSD. Um, Let me kind of skim this and see if there's anything that maybe we want to go over in this. Uh, so so they used LSD as well as other drugs, psilocybin, mescaline, alcohol, etc. Uh, let's go into the hypnosis. Uh, Declassified MK Ultra documents indicate that they studied hypnosis in the early 1950s. Experimental goals including creating hypnotically induced anxieties, hypnotically increasing ability to learn and recall complex written matter, studying hypnosis and polygraph examinations, hypnotically increasing ability to observe and recall complex arrangements of physical objects, and studying relationship of personality to susceptibility to hypnosis. They conducted experiments with drug-induced hypnosis and the anterograde and retrograde amnesia while under the influence of such drugs. So, they tried to hypnotize people and see if that had any effect. Um, Hypnosis can have quite a lot of effect on someone if they are more suggestible, because it's putting you into a heightened state of suggestibility. Um, so I'm guessing they probably had varying results depending on the person. Um, this goes into the experiments on Canadians. Um, pretty much, pretty much the same as the American experiments. Um, okay, so this goes into the secret detention camps. In areas under American control in the early 1950s in Europe and East Asia, mostly Japan, West Germany, and the Philippines, the CIA created secret detention centers, black sites, so that the U.S. could avoid criminal prosecution. The CIA suspected of being enemy agents and other people it deemed expendable to undertake various types of torture and human experimentation on them. The prisoners were interrogated while being administered psychoactive drugs, electroshocked, and subjected to extremes of temperature, sensory isolation, and the like to develop a better understanding of how to destroy and to control human minds. So, yeah, very dark stuff here. Let's go into revelation, recognition. kind of want to get to the court case mostly. So let's go here for a second. 1994 U.S. General Accounting Office report. The U.S. General Accounting Office issued a report on September 1928, 1994, which stated that between 1940 and 1974, the Department of Defense and other national security agencies studied thousands of human subjects in tests and experiments involving hazardous substances. The quote from the study reads, working with the CIA, the Department of Defense gave hallucinogenic drugs to thousands of volunteer soldiers in the 1950s and 1960s. In addition to LSD, the Army also tested uh, quinasidino benzylate, a hallucinogen codenamed BZ. Many of these tests were conducted under the so-called MK Ultra program, established to counter perceived Soviet and Chinese advances in brainwashing techniques. In 1953 and 1964, the program consisted of 149 projects involving drug tests and other studies on unwitting human subjects. So, what they're talking about with the Chinese advances of brainwashing and the Soviets, basically, one of the techniques I'm aware of is very similar to what you see on Facebook. It's actually not Eric, but Brett Weinstein has explained this on Joe Rogan. Essentially, what they would do is they would take you prisoner and they would starve you for a while. They would then um, offer you a small piece of fruit to write something bad about your home country. Um, they wouldn't offer you a full meal because then you could rationalize in your brain, well, I was starving and they had a spaghetti dinner for me. I would have wrote down anything for that spaghetti dinner. Instead, they give you a small piece of fruit that doesn't fill you or anything. So that way in your brain you rationalize, well, I must have really thought that what I wrote down, these bad things of my home country, I must really think that because all I got was a small piece of fruit and stuff. Your brain tends to not rationalize it the same, and it's very similar to the likes on Facebook that you get. The like being the small piece of fruit, and whatever you're writing or sharing being the statement. Uh, so it causes a dopamine rush essentially when you get the like. Same thing of when you would get the small piece of fruit, it would cause a dopamine rush. Um, so then your brain is reinforcing that type of thinking. It's saying this is good, keep doing that, right? So yeah, very important for me, at to me, that people understand that. That's why I personally am very careful about what I post on Facebook. Careful in the sense that I don't do it for the likes. I post something whether I think people are going to agree with it or not, because I myself think it's true, um, or have reason to believe that it's true. Um, and I don't care if I get 0 likes or 100 likes. That doesn't matter to me. I only post the things that I truly believe. Um, I and I try to think about the memes that I share, whether the messaging in it actually holds up. Um, does it apply to all situations, or is this kind of something that, like, yeah, it applies to this situation here, but not to this one here? So I don't find it to actually be definitively true. Uh, so then you've got the death of Frank Olson. So that is what the documentary I was telling you guys about. That Wormwood. Um, Project Wormwood. That is where Frank Olson, he was being dosed with LSD and supposedly jumped out of a window of his hotel. Although the evidence does show that, at least according to the documentary, it's more likely he was thrown out. So this goes into a list of what Olson's concerns were, some of those being the development of assassination materials used by the CIA's use of biological warfare materials in covert operations, experimentation with biological weapons in populated areas. So this in areas where just the general public were out. Uh, Collaboration with former Nazi scientists under Operation Paperclip. That's what I was talking about earlier. LSD mind control research. The use of psychoactive drugs during terminal interrogations under a program codenamed Project Artichoke. So, and this was in the 50s, mind you. Uh, and this also goes in to say in 1975, Olson's family received $750,000 settlement from the U.S. government and formal apologies from President Gerald Ford and CIA Director William Colby, though their apologies were limited to informed consent issues concerning Olson's ingestion of LSD. Okay, so this goes into some legal issues involving informed consent. Give me just 1 minute, 1 minute, and we will go over. Go ahead and leave it there on the screen for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and read that if you'd like. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. So, all right, so I'm back. Revelations about the CIA and Army prompted a number of subjects or their survivors to file lawsuits against the federal government for conducting experiments without informed consent. Although the government aggressively and sometimes successfully sought to avoid legal liability, several plaintiffs did receive compensation through court order or out of court settlements or acts of Congress. Frank Olson's family received $750,000 by a special act of Congress, and both President Ford and CIA Director William Colby met with Olson's family to apologize publicly. Previously, the CIA and the Army had actively and successfully sought to withhold incriminating information, even as they secretly provided compensation to the families. One subject of Army drug experimentation, James Stanley, an Army sergeant, brought an important, albeit unsuccessful suit. The government argued that Stanley was barred from suing under the Fair's Doctrine. In 1987, Supreme Court affirmed this defense in a 5-4 decision that dismissed Stanley's case, United States versus Stanley. The majority argued that a test for liability that depends on the extent to which particular suits would call into question military discipline and decision-making would itself require judicial inquiry into, and hence intrusion upon military matters. In dissent, Justice William Brennan argued that the need to preserve military discipline should not protect the government from liability and punishment for serious violations of constitutional rights. The medical trials at Nuremberg in 1947 deeply impressed upon the world that experimentation with unknowing human subjects is morally and legally unacceptable. The United States Military Tribunal established the Nuremberg Code as a standard against which the government, which to judge German scientists who experimented with human subjects in defiance of this principle. Military intelligence officials began surreptitiously. I have such a hard time with that word. Testing chemical and biological materials, including LSD. So yeah, so this all you can look up. I'll probably do another podcast where we dive even deeper into this. Um, let's see. Just games international. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this now because I want to go get something to eat and whatnot. Um, but yeah, MK Ultra. Check it out. Look it up. Uh, it sounds crazy because it is crazy. Um, but this was a very real um, and very damaging act done by our U.S. government. Um, and I think more people should be aware of this, um, how it was enacted, their techniques, etc. So that way they're more aware of how some of these techniques are being used today, um, albeit through different means, still the same basic techniques. Um, and yeah, I just think this is an important step for people to take in actually trying to wake the American people up out of this brain fog that we are currently in right now. Um, so yeah, um, if anyone is super knowledgeable about this as well and uh, wants to join me on the podcast, hey, um, totally, just let me know. We'll set up a time and a date where it works for both of us, and I'll be glad to let you help me educate people on this project. Uh, You know, you might know things that I don't know, and I might know things that you don't know. So, yeah, if anyone wants to join me on the next time we dive into this, feel free. This was kind of just an intro, get you guys, uh, just in the know of, what this was and stuff. So, yeah. All right. I will see you guys later. I may do a live stream later today. Just, I'm not sure what my plans are for the day yet. So, all right. I'll see you guys next time.